So that's a very relaxed position. I'm standing upright, back straight, and it's comfortable. We should talk tyre pressures. When this bike was delivered, it had very ridiculously low pressures, which I didn't measure at first. I just rode around, and when I measured them, they were about 12 psi, which is probably too much of a drag factor on the road. So, and they're rated for 20 to 35. So I pumped them up to just over 20, like 22 or something. And I've been riding them around on that for a while. I've not checked them, so they've probably gone down a bit. But we're anyway, probably around about 20. I might try them a bit lower today because it's very hard, packed ground. So I might let some out and see how we go. So the thing is, on a bike like this, I'm pretty much my own suspension. My legs and my arms are taking all the bumps. I don't like this little narrow rut we're in. Oh shit, don't like that either. Can't really sit down for this because it's so bumpy. Bike's doing okay so far. I've got to say those brakes are fantastic. I was probably commenting a little bit prematurely on those brakes. And this thing about them not being particularly effective. They are very effective. I think probably just when the pads are new, you know, it takes them a while to bed in, I guess, and get up to full effectiveness. So if you just take notice of the kind of terrain that we're seeing on this ride, this is pretty much what I ride, and it's the task against which I'm measuring this bike's effectiveness, if you like. You know, a lot of rough tarmac back roads like this, but tracks, you know, stony tracks, hard packed dirt tracks, bridleways. And we're doing good so far. You know, this is not qualitatively much different from riding a suspension bike on this kind of terrain. You might expect the suspension bike to do much better on these. Well, like this we're just coming up to now, with lots of repairs and kind of bricks and rubble in the potholes, and also on the bridleways with the tractor ruts. But actually suspension's useless on terrain like that. Well, in my experience it is. You know, maybe there is some way to adjust it, but you know, really the suspension's got to work far too quickly to be realistic on terrain like that. And so it's really the tyres that, and of course your human suspension, that takes the strain. And that's why playing with the tyre pressures is probably a good thing to experiment with. It's also a good reason not to go too fast on terrain like this, because it's bone shaking. And it's probably safer not going too fast. Wouldn't like to fall off on this. So we're going to have some uphill to do in a little while. We could go right here and go off on that grass. Well, it's not grass, it's barley or something, but there's a bridleway goes up the middle. But it doesn't really come out where we want it to, and it's not the best of terrain. We could go up there, but we'll go this way. This is a hard track, pretty steep. Might end up, well, probably will end up pushing up this. This is not an endurance test. We'll start off energetically. We're just going to let it drop all the way down to first, and then see where we give up. We're not in first yet, we're only about fourth at the minute. That's probably second. Oh, that wasn't second, that was third. This is first. That's all the way. So that gearing is as low as I need it. Honestly, if we need lower than that, the front wheel's going to be in the air, and I'm generally going to just get off and push. Pretty cool. Now that seat post is slipping, but it might be about right for me. I'll go a bit higher, I think. That's the number one notorious feedback on this bike, is that the seat post slips, because it's shimmed. It's not the right size for this tube. Well, we'll go with that. Again, we've got this excellent relaxed riding position. I'm standing up pretty straight, not having to crouch or arch or bend or anything like that, looking where I'm going. It's just what I need. Again, we're in top gear, new top gear, so 36 to 11. And it's fine for this kind of surface as well, even on the flat. I mean, we're on a slight downward incline here. So that, I quite like that new spread of gears. You know, I was wondering if a 1x10 was going to do it. But I think yes is the answer to that. I'm kind of wondering now, given that stuff about the chain length, you know, what's the compromise when they do a 1x11 or even a 1x12? I mean, they can't go for a well, I can't say what they can do, but you know, if that spread of gears physically is wider, it's hard to see how they can get the, you know, you've got the limits of those, of that chain length at each end. If it's too short in bottom gear, the chain's tight and there's nowhere to go. If it's too in top gear, the derailleur folds up on itself. I guess the answer is you have a different derailleur which has got a different design, and that's how they do it. That must be how they do it. The only other option is to just, you know, have the same end-to-end difference in ratios but have a different spread in between, which I don't think would be much use. You know, that's getting very technical and wouldn't be any use to me. It's the extremes that matter. Probably would be a good time to try letting some air out of those tyres. Should we do that? Let's do that. Well, I've tried reading the pressures with this the gauge on this pump, but that's not very successful. So I'm just going to let some out by feel. Alright, that's squishy. That's probably well under 20, probably like 15 or something. So we're not going to go any lower than that. So we'll see how that goes. Well, it might be my imagination, but that certainly that front tyre pressure feels better. You know, it feels kind of bouncy, whereas before it felt a little bit, well, firm. But there you go, it could be placebo, could be my imagination. When we get back to the car, we'll get an objective-ish reading of what the tyre pressure actually is. Trying to find a good line on here. It's not so much about traction and staying on, it's about finding the least bumpy line. You know, if you've got roughs, sometimes it's better to get off onto grass. This is where we want to be. So we're going to lose out a little bit with those lower pressures on stretches like this, because we're going to inevitably get a little bit more drag. But we ain't too fussed about that.
To get there and then go to the... You're not going to have time to do...
The horse is feeling a bit neglected. This is where you want that steerer tube to hold together. That one to separate. Up the creek. going to just join up with the outbound route at the end of this track. That'll take us back to the start. Again, I'm completely standing up here. But I think we're going to slow down a bit. Maybe not. As long as you choose your line, this is fine without suspension. Pigeons. Whoa, headbutt the pigeon. So there we are, the Ramin 3 Plus, the first proper shakedown trip. We did a relatively short trip today, just about 11 miles, but everything's held together, nothing's fallen off. And we got good results from, first of all, that extended stem. The riding position is excellent. It's just what we need. You know, completely, well, not completely upright, but as upright as it needs to be. I can stand up on the pedals and see where I'm going without any contortions. So nice and comfortable. The Surly Moloko bars with this kind of relaxed wrist position, that's going to be better on longer trips. Incidentally, it's just worth mentioning, those ergon grips, you can buy cheaper versions of those. In fact, I was in Evans the other day, and what were those pedals? The brand of those pedals? Oh yeah, the FWE. I think that's an Evans brand. So they do an FWE branded set of grips like that, which are pretty much the same, and they're just as good and they're half the price. Well, I said they're just as good. I mean, they feel just as good off the shelf. Swapping out that chain wheel on the front has been a great idea. I think that's really added to the usability of this bike. The top gear's noticeably higher, and you know, you wouldn't want to go up anymore. Well, you know, I mean, it wouldn't hurt to have an extra gear on the top end, but for all the reasons I mentioned, it's going to be probably quite a pain to do, and it's really not necessary now. The bottom gears are fine, you know, we can get as low as we need to, and we're still, you know, pedaling up inclines where the front wheel's lifting. So as a compromise, I think that's working fine. The tyre pressures, I measured these tyre pressures when we got back. Having let some air out, we were down to 10 or 12 psi, which is probably as low as you want to go. But it was fine, you know, it was working well. It was a nice feel. So we'll keep playing with the tyre pressures. That's something, there's no penalty for experimenting with that. So not much else to say, but it's working pretty well as a package for now.